Significant severe weather is in the forecast, a major heat wave for late July, and a tropical cyclone that could develop in the Gulf. All are three main storylines in today's evening update on your forecast. Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for joining. If you are here and you're not subscribed to my channel, we do straight to the point weather forecasts that are accurate and reliable for the United States, southern Canada, and the tropics. Like the video throughout if you do enjoy it. Press the like button and share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. I really do appreciate it. We do have an enhanced risk of severe weather in central Nebraska here, which is a 3 out of 5 on the risk scale, meaning numerous severe thunderstorms are likely heading in through this evening into the overnight hours. In yellow, stretching from Lake Superior all the way back into Nebraska, parts of Wyoming, into parts of even northern Utah. That's a slight risk. That's a 2 out of 5 on the risk scale, where scattered severe thunderstorms are likely. And then in the dark green that you see, that's a 1 out of 5 marginal risk, where isolated strong to severe thunderstorms are possible, and that does include southeastern Arizona. Main threats for the evening will be intense damaging winds, especially pinpointing central Nebraska. Wind gusts could be up to 80 miles per hour with a couple thunderstorms. That is enough to topple over trees and cause a lot of power outages. Damaging winds of 60 to 70 mile per hour caliber are possible from northern Utah into Wyoming, stretching up here into central Minnesota, including the Twin Cities area and Duluth, all the way into northern Wisconsin and up here into the western UP of Michigan this evening, followed by the threat for hail. Now, hail is going to be greatest from the western UP of Michigan down through central Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, and into central Nebraska. That's where we could be seeing quarter-size hailstones, possibly a golf ball size hailstone or two. And then the tornado threat is not high, but it's also not zero. We have a 2% chance of tornadoes in green into western UP, northern portions of Wisconsin, eastern portions there of Minnesota, including the Twin Cities, Duluth, and then over here into eastern portions of South Dakota and into Nebraska near Lincoln. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Now, looking here at the central United States here at 6 o'clock this evening, we're starting to see the initiation of a broken line of strong to severe thunderstorms. This is what we were just talking about, with the potential for strong damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of isolated tornadoes, in addition to also some torrential downpours that these storms will have access to. And then as we go through the late evening hours, we're going to see that complex of storms really kind of taking over central and eastern Nebraska, over here into Lincoln, the Hastings area, and Kearney. We could be seeing potentially winds in excess of 75, perhaps even up to 80 miles per hour going through the late evening hours. We have scattered broken line of storms from the western UP of Michigan into northern Wisconsin and central Minnesota, and then that will continue to move into Iowa. Now, this is going to result in likely an MCV, a mesoscale convective vortex, and we know low pressure systems on a global scale produce bigger storms like blizzards in the wintertime or big rain events or even hurricanes in the Gulf, right? This is on a mesoscale, so it's a mini low pressure system that kind of moves through eastern Nebraska and western Iowa late tonight into early Wednesday, and that could actually lead to this severe weather further east that we'll talk about on Wednesday. So that's very interesting. Now, looking here in the eastern United States, this evening we are seeing a couple of isolated, widely scattered thunderstorms. Once the sun goes down, though, these storms will be really waning in intensity and coverage. Although, can't rule out a couple of thunderstorms in the Indianapolis, Bloomington, down to Evansville area, Louisville, and even Dayton, Ohio. Can't rule out a shower or storm overnight into your Wednesday morning. Now, looking out west, it looks very active out here as well. Monsoonal flow across the Rockies. We have a lot of widespread showers and rumbles of thunder up into Montana, Wyoming, and northern Utah. That will persist as we go deeper through the evening hours, especially across the northern Rockies, where our disturbances are going up and over that ridge of high pressure. That ridge of high pressure, by the way, is anchored down here across Arizona and New Mexico. And then looking at tomorrow, okay, this is your Wednesday, July 16th severe weather threat. They have added a slight risk for scattered severe thunderstorms into eastern Colorado, including the Denver area. into southeastern portions of Wyoming near Cheyenne, and then into the southwestern panhandle of Nebraska, also from northern Illinois into eastern Wisconsin, or from Green Bay to Rockford, Milwaukee, Madison, and Chicago. You're all included in a scattered severe threat of severe weather on Wednesday. In the dark green, from the Central Plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, over toward the northeast, including Pennsylvania, western New York, those areas, Ohio, we have isolated strong to severe storms possible in dark green. And just like today, damaging winds will be the main threat here, especially from northern Illinois into eastern Wisconsin. And then the hail threat is greatest out into the Rockies, right? The Front Range. We're talking southeastern Wyoming into eastern Colorado, Cheyenne down there toward Denver, and into the panhandle of Nebraska. That's where we're going to have a lot of cold air aloft that could kind of help aid in the hail growth as we go through the day tomorrow. And then those two areas where we have low tornado chance, but again, it's not zero. It's a 2% across the Green Bay area, Madison, Milwaukee, down to Chicago, Aurora, and Naperville, Rockford, and then down toward Peoria and Davenport, and then over here from Cheyenne, Wyoming, down toward Denver, keeping an eye on that. That's a 2% chance in the green shaded colors. Now here in the central U.S., 7 a.m. on Wednesday, we got that MCV, right? That's that mini low pressure system on the mesoscale. It's called a mesoscale convective vortex, pushing through the Hawkeye state of Iowa further to the east. Once it arrives at the Mississippi River, this could bring a threat for some isolated and scattered severe weather from the state of Wisconsin down into the land of Lincoln here in Illinois as we go into tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. Damaging winds, large hail will be the primary threat, but a couple tornadoes will also be possible as rotating supercells possible, probably more likely in southeastern Wisconsin. So watching out near Janesville, Monroe, Racine, Kenosha, and even into the Milwaukee metropolitan area. And then additional storms over here from Cheyenne down to Denver that could cause problems tomorrow afternoon and evening. And those storms could actually sneak eastward into Kansas. And then there's going to be a boundary setting up here from southeastern Nebraska along the Iowa-Missouri state line, including Kansas City area, into western Illinois. That could bring repeated rounds of heavy thunderstorms going into your Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. And this could bring a localized flash flooding threat as well across the Kansas City and St. Joseph area, further east over here towards, say, Galesburg, Illinois. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Could be seeing 1 to 3 inches of rain. Even localized higher amounts than 3 inches is possible if these storms continue to train over the same areas. In the eastern U.S. on Wednesday, we're really seeing showers and storms persisting across Indiana, Ohio through the morning. That will spark additional storms across the mid-Atlantic especially. Some of those could be strong as we go into Wednesday afternoon and evening. That could be, again, for strong winds, hail, and a very small tornado risk. And then as we look out west, 7 a.m., again, seeing those showers, rumbles of thunder there into southeastern Montana and northeastern Wyoming. And then as we get to the peak heating of the day, underneath of that ridge, we could be seeing some weak flow, but enough flow to produce some thunderstorm activity across the Four Corners region, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, even sneaking into far northwestern Texas. Now, looking here at Thursday, July 17th, a general thunderstorm risk. It's been a while since we haven't seen a severe weather risk here on a day, but that looks to appear on Thursday. In the white, we're not seeing a thunderstorm risk at all, and that's due to a very strong and quite powerful cold front that's going to be moving through. Here are your highs we observed this afternoon. A lot of 90s, triple digits further to the south. We already see the observed cold front up here this afternoon and evening. Already seeing highs in the mid and upper 60s into eastern Montana, into North Dakota. But watch as we go into tomorrow. Record cool highs across a large chunk of the northern Rockies, northern plains, into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region, where we're going to be struggling to reach the mid 60s in some areas. The heat will be on across the southern plains and the deep south, back into the 90s. And then as we go into Thursday, just absolutely amazing day here in the upper Midwest, much of the plains here, especially even down into Kansas. 70s will be possible, 90s further to the south, and then heating up across the west. And then Friday's not bad across the north either. The Great Lakes, northeast cools off, but then the heat comes right back as we go towards early next week. And while we're cooling off during the day, we're actually going to be cooling off at night as well. Open up those windows as we go into Wednesday morning, especially Thursday morning. We're in the 40s and 50s up across the northern Rockies, northern plains, and upper Midwest, enough to crack open those windows. And then our lows start to warm up a little bit as we head toward the weekend, but especially into early next week. Now, in that transition this weekend between the cooler air behind the cold front that we see as it moves through the next couple of days and the heat wave that builds in next week, well, we're going to have a transition period with some showers and storms as a disturbance moves through across the northern United States. And right now, looking here at Friday, July 18th, that storm energy is going to start to build a little bit further north up here into the Missouri Valley. And then by the time we get to Saturday, July 19th, this weekend, that storm energy is plentiful all the way up into Iowa, northern Illinois, and southern Wisconsin again, and that could lead to a thunderstorm complex that could produce not only heavy rainfall, but some severe weather. So here we go on Friday, July 18th, late this week. We're watching out for the timing of this. Again, the timing of this is very hard to predict. Exact locations that see it as well. Still a few days out, so this could change. Friday's mainly dry, a couple isolated storms from Iowa, Missouri, into downstate Illinois. And then as we go into Saturday, the GFS model wants to produce an overnight storm complex that would likely be the start of our ring of fire pattern next week. That could bring some damaging winds, hail, and a couple isolated tornadoes, and not to mention the corn sweat here, going to have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, so torrential rainfall. Now, in contrast, the European model is mainly dry on Friday, actually, not really showing a lot of storms until Friday to late night and into early Saturday morning, and then it doesn't really show much on Saturday for a complex of storms. So there's still differences in the models between the American GFS and the European model. We're going to hatch that out as we get a little bit closer to the weekend. What is more certain is next week, starting on Sunday, July 20th, through the following Sundays, July 27th, a big ring of fire pattern is going to start to set up where we have a ridge of high pressure baking the central and southern United States and the ring of fire over the top where we have cooler air and thunderstorm clusters. So looking here at Sunday, July 20th is the start of it, and we're going to see the 90s triple digits building out of Texas and Oklahoma that day, building into Kansas on Monday, the 21st. And then it just expands from there, daily highs in the 90s and triple digits. And with the corn transpiration here, we're going to be seeing a lot of high humidity dew points that is air you can wear and really beyond that point, as we're going to be seeing mid 80s perhaps for dew points by the middle of next week. And my friends, that is going to lead to a lot of high heat index values, perhaps closing in on 110, 115 in parts of the Midwest and a lot of the deep south as we go into the middle and late portion of next week. Now, with the ring of fire pattern, we got to watch the ring of fire, right? We got to watch the jet stream over the top, and that is where we're going to find those thunderstorm complexes that are going to be on a 24 to 48 hour basis. They're going to develop every pretty much 24 to 48 hours, producing heavy rainfall and producing severe weather. Here's the corridor, the ensemble guidance that's been really highlighting this area consistently for the past week, really. So from the Dakotas into Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, stretching over into Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and into West Virginia, maybe parts of northern Kentucky as well, and then some tropical influence of whatever happens in the Gulf down towards the southeast. But underneath that ridge of high pressure, forget about the rainfall. I mean, it's going to be dry down here, and it's going to be hot as we go through next week. Now, looking at the severe weather probabilities here, the week 2 accumulated supercell composite parameter space is very much in line with that thinking from Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin into northern Illinois, especially in central Indiana, northern Indiana. That's where we could be seeing those thunderstorm complexes almost on a daily basis next week, and some of those could get strong enough to produce what we call derechos. And a derecho is a fast-moving line of storms that moves over a long distance, producing widespread wind damage. Sometimes they can be intense, producing winds over 100 miles per hour, and hail, tornadoes, very heavy rainfall. So something we're watching into next week. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of the derecho last year on July 15, 2024, that brought 32 tornadoes to the Chicagoland area itself and widespread wind damage. The highest wind gusts from that derecho last year on this date was 105 miles per hour. So they definitely can produce some widespread and significant winds. Now, looking here at the tropics, right now, the National Hurricane Center, Miami, Florida, is continuing with a 40% probability, so overall low to medium odds on this developing, and the latest ensemble guidance and the operational models really have this very close to the coast, and not a lot of residence time over the warm waters. And even though the shelf waters in the Gulf are very warm, probably not seeing much developing out of that other than a rain system. And in the East Pacific Basin, things are very quiet after what has been a very active start to the hurricane season over here. National Hurricane Center is not expecting any tropical cyclone activity over the next 7 days. Again, that is the next week moving forward. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel as we do another weather forecast video tomorrow and in the future with straightforward, accurate, and reliable weather information for you. Again, like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, family member on social media, and if you have any comments, questions, and concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We are here 24/7, all day, all night to answer any and all questions that you may have. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your support, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your Tuesday out there.